Hello, everyone. Welcome. 1 minute while we get Ace on the line here. So glad to have you guys join us. Hello.
Hi. I
Uh,
hope it's working. I'm using data.
it's working. I can see you
It's
and hear
working. Nice.
you fine. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
How's your day going?
Nice. It's good. Like we had Wi-Fi cutouts throughout the entire Canada just on the day where I needed it.
Oh no.
Yeah. But it's nice to meet you, talk to you, because I've seen like a bunch of the Women in Film Project interviews and you've been very good at it. And yeah, I'm excited
Oh,
to talk to you.
thanks so much. I'm excited to talk to you too. I've been looking forward to this all week to get to know you a little bit better and to, just chat and hear about your career in the industry and your story.
For sure.
Amazing. So we have a few people already here. I'm waving to you guys as you come in, but feel free to leave a comment about where you're listening from. We always love, with the Women in Film Project, how global this movement has become. And we have people usually tuning in from all over the world, all different areas and regions, and also all different skill sets and different places in their journey. So it's really cool to watch this community come together. I see someone from Orlando and Chicago. Yeah, keep dropping
Chicago. Hi,
Chicago.
Danny.
Read.
Hi, Jess.
Yeah, hey guys. So yeah, we could dive right in as more people
For
trickle in.
sure.
Yeah, and just get started. So, hey everybody, my name is Morgan Taylor. I'm an award-winning documentary filmmaker and the host of the Women in Film Project live series. It's been amazing to be a part of this, and as I said, we're telling stories all around the world, and I think that it's powerful, and it's been powerful, and we've seen that because everyone's story is inspiring to hear and to learn from. We're all on a similar journey, everyone who's tuning in and watching and being a part of this, and to really build each other up and support each other on that journey has been incredible. And I'm here with Ace. And why don't you give everybody a quick, like, tell us about yourself, a little introduction for people
Sure.
who don't already know who you are.
For sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Ace, and I just go by Ace, honestly. And I'm an assistant director. I've been in the industry for just under a year, almost a year. It's going to be here in October. And my end goal is to be a director. So, I've been also dipping my toes onto that a little bit lately. I'm directing two shorts. They're upcoming, one this month and one in September. So, I'm really excited for those. But yeah, as a woman, like I got started kind of by myself because I didn't go to film school and I faced like a lot of issues of like, how do I get in? I don't know anyone. I've also faced like, unfortunately, some sexist comments from men, like, oh, this industry is not for a young woman and all of that. But I've been able to kind of get through that stage, and now I feel like I'm more established and I'm so excited to talk and inspire other young women, hopefully.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all that this conversation has, to unfold. You I'm curious what drew you originally to the industry, what drew you to film.
So that's a very that's very way going back, because I've been wanting to be a film director since I'm very young, like 7 years old, since I could remember myself. And I feel like back then I didn't even know what it was. I was just like looking at the film and I would say, I want to do that. And I didn't know what a director was, what a cinematographer was. But as I grew up and I like learned a little bit more about the rules, I was like, oh, I definitely want to be a director. But my parents weren't really supportive. And I'm from Turkey, I have Turkish parents. So they're like kind of Asian mindsets. I feel like a lot of people can relate to, of like, you need to get a real degree. And for a while, they were like, oh, this is just a phase. She's gonna get over it. It's a phase, just like how other people want to be singers or actors. But it wasn't a phase. And age 13, I came back and I was like, hey, I still want to do this. Age 16 came back, still want to do this. But they ended up pushing me in a different direction. So I'm actually pursuing a math degree. I'm in my last year. But I always, like, I never gave up on my dream. And I was like, I don't care, even if I go to school for something else, I'm gonna do this on the side. And then hopefully once school's over, I can do it full time.
Awesome. I'm I'm almost curious why math? Was there something related to film or understanding, you know, how things work, or is it something that you also have a passion about?
So in my first year, I actually went for computer engineering. So
Okay.
again, like that mindset of like lawyer, engineer, or doctor, like choose one of them. And for me, engineering seemed more natural because I was good in math in high school. So that's the path I ended up going with. And after 1 year, it actually gave me no time to do anything film. I couldn't even write scripts, or I just didn't have time for anything else than school. And I was like, this is really killing me. I can't do this. So I ended up switching to mathematics, which in my school, I go to U of T. So there are different departments, and I'm in the arts and science department now. And I'm able to take like electives from philosophy, Spanish, different electives. I even taken like film electives, which I was able to fit into my schedule, which was so much better for me. So that's kind of why I end up going with that degree.
Okay. Awesome. And I love the persistence and the diligence of not giving up on your you can do both.
Yes,
You can have you know, whether it's like some people do it for a fallback reason or a just in case reason or just to say, I want this, but I also want to pursue film and the idea of art and making something that can inspire other people.
for sure. And actually, I just booked a new job for August as an AD. And what they told me was what they found interesting in my resume was that I actually like am doing math, and they were like, "Oh, that's like problem solving and like AD, PM, like those are problem solving
Right.
roles," which was very like aha moment. I was like, "Wow, my two worlds are colliding."
Yeah, and I think I've seen that before. And because the interesting thing about film is it's both, you have a solo journey of the part that you're doing, but it's also a very collaborative process, and you need people of
Mhm.
all backgrounds, all disciplines, but also all interests. People who are more of a organized personality or a more like full on artsy personality. It all works in the industry.
For sure. I even know people who do like business degrees because like half of film is honestly business. Like, makes sense.
Yeah, like producing or like getting
Hmm.
the deals and things like that. So
For
yeah, and
sure.
something like you can. A lot of people think I have to go to film school, and I like your angle almost of
Hmm.
you can still break in. Um, how did you then either start working on film, or did you meet the right people? Was it a networking aspect?
I think it was mostly networking. And like at the time I didn't have anything. It was also like COVID times. So I also couldn't go into like these meetup groups or whatever. So the only thing I really had was Instagram. So that's what I end up using, which is crazy, but it's crazy to think how many like of my film connections and my film industry friends right now are actually just like people that I've DM'd or they've DM'd me, and we've DM'd back and forth, and then they brought me on set, and that's just kind of how like the snowball like effect started. I feel like once you get started, my biggest tip would be if you know no one, like try to curate your page so that people will at least understand that you're into film and you want to be in film. And one really good way is actually like being a production assistant for other people's sets, which is what I did. And that like really got me far, I would say, because I just went and worked for free since I had no experience. And like production assistant is a role which, even if you don't know anything, you can just go be a production assistant and just help out everyone with whatever they need. And every time you go on sets, you will learn something new, especially when you're new. That was my kind of strategy. I was like, okay, I want to get myself to set as much as possible because I felt that every time I was there, like even just how to set up a C stand, like that's a very basic skill that, yes, you can watch a YouTube tutorial on that, but I've always been like, if I do something with my hands and if I like do it often, I learn that skill so much better than just like watching someone else or just watching from home. Like I think this is a discipline that's very well done like in person. So
Yeah, I like that. And the PA jobs are can often turn into shadowing, or you can be the human sponge that's soaking up the information and learning by watching as well as by doing.
for sure, that expression is my absolute favorite. Like, I love being a sponge. And at that time, like, I told myself, okay, I'm gonna be a sponge. Like, I'm gonna go to sets and I'm gonna observe everything from everyone. Of course, like, don't ask people questions like in the middle of them doing their jobs or anything, but like, there's always some downtime. Like, if it's like 5 minutes, whatever, lunch, you can always like ask questions, and people always want to help. Like, I feel like that's something that I was scared in the beginning, but everyone wants to help. Like, I feel like this is the best industry. Like, maybe I'm biased, but once you ask someone a question and like you just put your ego aside and you're like, hey, I'm new. I don't know anything about this. Can you teach me a thing or two? I bet you like they will explain to you like so many more things that you didn't even ask about because they're just happy to teach because they were the ones like in that position once.
Uh,
And like I can literally, I experienced this the other day. A PA was asking me a question, and I was like, okay, I will explain that to you. And then I will explain this to you. And I felt so happy for helping them.
yeah, because it becomes a community of like-minded people, and I think it may be this may be in other industries too, but I think it may also be unique to film where you have a lot of people who are very passionate about their work and their craft, but also they've been there before, and so you can find the right people who are learning from people who went before them and passing it on to you or to the next generation of filmmakers, or who it becomes a
For sure.
very generous atmosphere.
For sure. Like I feel like some people do gatekeep, but most people don't. And like the people that gatekeep, I don't think they are really advancing in the industry or really like gonna get anywhere because everybody like has something that someone else doesn't. And I think once you realize that, as you said, like that we are all actually like a community and we grow by like helping each other and like you go volunteer on their shoot and they come volunteer on your shoot. It's like a really nice, friendly like vibe that I really like.
Yeah, and that right there is that for gatekeeping. Have you
Hmm.
experienced any of that? Whether somebody's saying, "Hey, I earned my stripes, you have to earn yours," like you're on your own, or have you seen that as well in your experience?
Yeah, I've definitely seen it. I don't think it was coming from like a I don't want to teach you anything, I don't want to show you my secrets type gatekeeping, but it was more so like you have to go through like the ladder just like I went through. You can't just skip steps, which I think is a little bit selfish. Like if I made mistakes and I learned from them, I'm very glad to if one of my friends who are newer than me asks me something, I'm glad to explain to them, "Oh, that's the mistake that I did. It's going to cost you time. Don't do that." But I feel like I've run into people who like knew their mistakes and knew the shortcuts but didn't want to share it with me on purpose, which I think, I mean, it's everybody their own like life philosophy, I guess, but I think it's always, I think like it always comes back around energy wise. If you put out positive energy, it comes back to you.
Yeah, I believe that too. And I think um, the more you are generous, the more that you do see it. It's almost like a law of the universe. That's the way it works.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, one thing to add to that is I feel like um, it's a very small industry, as we talked about. Like, I mean, it's not small, but I feel like everybody kind of knows everybody. And you never know, like, one person that you worked with and that you were rude to on one set can be friends with someone else, and then you go to other sets and it's that other person's set. Like, it's very small, it's very easy to ruin your name for yourself. So
Mm,
even if like you don't get along with someone or you don't want to share your whatever secrets with someone, I feel like you should always be nice and polite to everyone because it's a very small world and I feel like people's reputation come down really fast.
mm. Yeah, that's, I think that's huge. Kindness goes a long way, even in
Yes.
parts of the reputation that you are upholding.
Mhm. For sure.
Amazing. Well, I have a lot of questions here to that I have prepared, and
Okay.
for everyone who's listening, if you have questions, we're happy to answer them. Feel free to drop questions in the comments in the chat, and there's also a Q&A below. Um, if you drop them there, we'll see them, and we can answer all of your questions. So, in in filmmaking, you mentioned wanting to be a filmmaker for a very long time since you were 7. What are some of your biggest inspirations in film?
Oh, that's a big question. That's a
Well,
good
we can
question.
narrow if it's directors, if it's people, or if it's specific, maybe things that you saw and you're like, I want to make something like that, or this makes me want to do film.
Hmm. For sure. When I was small, like my very first inspiration was Tim Burton films. I really felt that like whenever I watched Tim Burton film, it took me like to a different like universe, and I completely like cut off any connection with reality. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize I was watching a film. Like I felt like my whole soul is different. Like is just transcending, which was great. And even now, I feel like my films are not animations, and they're like totally not Tim Burton's. Like nobody can be Tim Burton other than Tim Burton himself. But I feel like one thing that I try to like replicate is that I feel like a good film is when that happens. Like you go in and you forget about your own life and you forget that you're watching a film. You just go in and you get transported into this story and you get immersed in it. Some people have different opinions on this, but for me, that has been like a trademark of a good film. Some
Yeah.
films you go in, it has voiceover. It's very like you are very aware that you're watching a film. It's still very well made, but to me, that film has failed, if that makes sense. So I feel like this philosophy that I have on like what is a good film, what is a bad film for me personally has been inspired by Tim Burton.
Yeah, I like that. And I like how you were specifying kind of like to you, because everybody,
Hmm.
um, especially for new people who are starting out in the industry, I think filmmaking oftentimes is finding your voice and finding what rings true for yourself as an artist. So if that becomes like a definition of your own style, the projects that you're drawn to, then that's you know that can be something very personable that's not the same as the person next to you, and that's awesome, you know.
For sure. Like we were having a debate about this with my friend actually, and he was telling me, no, like a good film is when you go in, you know it's a film, you're very aware of this, but you like it, you watch it, it has the proper structure and like the ending happens and the conflict gets resolved and everything. Which by the way, there is research about this that a lot of people agree with this, but my opinion is different, and a lot of people also agree with this. But for me, yes, as you mentioned, like it was crucial in finding my style, and I usually like darker tone stories. And another film that I really, really like is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Mm.
It's like one of my absolute favorites. Um, that film also helped me kind of see like visually what's my style because I really like the visuals in that film, very cool tones. That was like one of the films I show my DP, like, oh, this is something I really like. And I feel like in general, to answer that same question, inspiration, like I think I draw it from everywhere, and I think that's what makes like film so beautiful is that there is everything in it. Like you have a whole art department, right? That could be like people working in like paintings that are going to be in the film, people working, people taking a literal white room and turning it into a Victorian room. Like that itself is an art branch of its own, I feel like. But as a director, you have to tell them your vision, and every little piece of the film like has to follow your vision. So I feel like to be the best director you could be, you have to kind of get inspiration from different sources, like different outlets, if that makes
Right.
sense. So for me, I was the other day looking at, I borrowed this book from the library and it was architecture. And my mom was like, "Oh my God, now you are reading architecture books." She's already like, "Wow, you are working so much." And I'm like, "Well, yes, like how am I supposed to talk to my like production designer? Like how could I explain what I want?" And then the other day I was listening to different types of music, like different types of chords to see what kind of chords I want to tell my composer. So I feel like as a director, really, you could get inspiration from anything, music, architecture, magazines. Watching different films is really huge, obviously. Whenever I watch different films now, instead of actually watching the film, I feel like I watch it in a, oh, how did I cut this scene? Oh, where did the director put the camera in this? What would have happened if he put it there? Why did he choose a close up? Like questions like this, also very helpful. Sorry,
Yeah,
that was
I
so long.
no, that was great. And it's
Thank you.
very unique voice and kind of how you're finding the inspiration. It goes back to that human sponge thing. You're soaking up
Yeah,
everything, architecture, music, and I think that might be something unique to directors and people who are interested in directing because the director is the leader of the whole project, and it almost becomes very integral to be a jack of all trades at that point where you don't have to master all of them but to have your hands on every aspect of the project so that you can say your vision and have someone else bring it to life in those all the departments.
for sure. That is so true. One funny anecdote that I had is like I was standing in the line in the grocery store and I like my music cut off and I like started hearing this conversation or like more like fight that these people are having. And I was like, oh, I'm going to eavesdrop. I'm allowed to do this because I'm a director. The next thing I know is like I'm texting I work with a writer. He's really talented. We just started working together. And I was just like texting him. I was like, oh my God, character A, character B, these are their like points, these are their POVs. Keep this in track. Like it doesn't have to get written right at that moment, but I feel like both him and I, like our notes app on our phones, filled. Every
Yeah.
day I feel like I see something, oh, bird and dog did this, like just the most random notes. That's another like tip that I would have to people who want to be director. Whenever you make an observation about anything, write it down
Mm.
because at the end of the day I feel like that's what it's about. Like you're taking a story and you're putting your own vision into it. So the more you know about your own vision about the world and humans, the better you would be directing.
Yeah, and I've heard this with other forms of storytelling as well. And again, to juxtapose how it works with film and other things, like people who are authors, they play all of the characters and they've researched all of the research, and they're always like have a notebook on them and are jotting down, wow, this bird inspired me and I should put that somewhere. And with film, there's so many more pieces because you have actors who are playing the different ones. So maybe you're going to give the actor a direction based on an idea, or the writer says something. And I guess this goes into a question for you. Does it ever feel scattered to have your hands in so many different departments at a time?
Yes. I'll tell you one thing. My mom literally tells, like, she describes me as like you have all these like um little animals in your head running around, and every animal represents something else. And she's like, and you have way too many. It's a zoo. But yeah, like it does feel like sometimes like honestly overwhelming, especially like 1 or 2 weeks out from production. So right now, July 16, I'm shooting something, and I feel like I don't even want to go on my phone because there's so many questions. Every time I open my phone, there's like paragraphs from my production designer, which I love her. She's amazing. But like so many questions of like, do we get this one or this one? I found this. This one looks like this. Like there's so many little details that I'm like, okay, that one I really like, but it's from London. That one I really like, it's not going to come on time. That one I don't like because it looks like this. At the same time, I have my producer sending me like, oh, these are the people that you should interview for assistant director. These are whatever. Like so much going on at the same time. It's just like chaos, but I feel like it's beautiful chaos. Like at the end of the day, I love that, and I love making decisions. I feel like if you don't like love making fast decisions, you shouldn't even consider directing.
Is it something that you learn, or it's something that you love and then you figure it out? The decision making.
I feel like I feel like it's something I love, and I don't think what I love is actually like decision making or like bossing people around. For me, it's always been like, oh, like I already watched the film in my mind. I know exactly how it's gonna look like, and all of these talented people are like puzzle pieces that are gonna come together. And I feel like that's the most satisfying part of like once every single puzzle piece is correct and it's gonna come together perfectly, it's going to look exactly like it was in my mind once we actually make it. But the hard part is nobody can like open a little door in your mind and like walk in and take a look around. So you have to be able to really explain yourself. And I feel like that wasn't a skill that isn't a skill that I still have, I would say. Um, to be honest, like I feel like I'm working on it, trying to use less words, be more precise, um, and also like I'm trying to do less of the like, oh, let's go with that one, and then just oh, I changed my mind. I'm trying to do less of this and just telling myself, no, you're a director, you make a decision, you make it fast, and once the decision is made, it's made. Like that's what I tell myself, and I try to like work on it nowadays.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what you said about uh, the hands-on. It's the same. It
Mhm.
may not be physical, like setting up a C stand, but you're getting that hands-on experience of, in theory, one can make lots of decisions very quickly, but then actually doing it, uh, that's a skill that you're learning by actually doing it.
That is so true because also I feel like there's always much more like many more problems that come up that you didn't like on paper. You were like, okay, I want this glass to look like that. That's how it's gonna look. But in real world scenarios, like your art team might not be able to find exactly what you had in your mood board or in your mind. And obviously, when it's like lower budget too, like your producer is on your hand being like, oh no, we're already over budget, like no, you cannot do that. So there's a lot of like elements that is like yeah, like we got to think about the cost, but at the same time, is it going to be there on time? But it doesn't look like what I had in my mind. Sometimes you got to learn how to like compromise and everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a question here in the chat about
For sure.
something film related that inspires you creatively. Can you name something that doesn't have anything to do with film?
Music. But I feel like that also like it's
Well,
like
it depends.
different, I feel like.
It's soundtracks. Maybe that's like specific film things.
Hmm.
Um, what type of music?
But honestly, this is I would say different because it's not soundtracks, it's any type of music. I listen to uh German songs, I listen to French, I listen to Korean. I listen very varied songs from all around the world, and I like to go on long walks, and I feel like those walks are the ones where I always get images in my head pop up. That might be like it's gonna be something in the future, maybe part of a scene. Sometimes it's nothing, but like I like going on long walks, listening to music. That's something that definitely inspires me. Other thing I would say is I think to have a world vision, you need to get yourself cultured. So, like, one thing I do that's definitely not film related is I try to meet as many different people as possible. So, like, I went to a sake bar for the first time in my life, like 30 weeks ago. And that was an experience that, like, I cannot even tell you. Like, you cannot go to Pinterest and find that inspiration. You cannot open a magazine and find that. Like, things happen. I met like local people were serving me. I was there with like a Korean person, and it was just like a culture fusion. And does that mean like I'm gonna make a film and it's gonna take place in Korea? No, but it was just like inspiring, like mind opening. So I tried to put myself through like as many mind opening experiences with as many new people as possible. I feel like that's very good inspiration too.
Yeah, I love that. It's the curiosity side of making art, always being curious and always looking and
Yes.
being open.
Hmm.
Awesome. So another question that I have here is about the types of projects that you choose to work on. So whether you're uh, writing it yourself or if somebody else has written something, what draws you to a specific project? Or what if there's like themes that you love to work with or certain mediums like short films or music videos, what are some of the things that you're drawn to?
So it's honestly very different as first assistant director or director. I feel like I'll get the first AD part of the way first. That's more like organization. So I really like, I worked on a horror thriller kind of film, which I don't even watch that. I hate that kind of stuff.
Mm.
I worked on comedy, which also like really not my thing. But as an assistant director, honestly, it's really not about what I like, if I like the project, if I like the storyline, if I like the characters. I feel like it's more so about how is the production, how is the director. Um, if the director is good, I will definitely want to AD them because as an AD, you can also learn from them. And like just how organized the production is overall. If it's a mess and I'm like putting myself in a mess,
Mm.
essentially I'm going to be the one who's going to have to solve that mess. So sometimes if I feel like the production is a mess, I might pull myself out before I even like sign any contracts. But
If
now, like that
I
being
have
out of the
a
way,
follow
oh sorry.
I have a follow-up question for that though. Is that a
Yes.
matter if you're brought on earlier in the process to maybe organize it from the beginning, does that make it better?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's still going to be disorganized because you're going to be the only person organizing it?
I think that's better, but also I've learned how to gauge from the very start, like, is this director what he is saying doable? So
Mm.
I worked with one that I had an experience that really scarred me, which is why I feel like now I can go in and kind of see like, are these like liable people? Is this film gonna happen or is this film gonna fall through? Because I was supposed to AD a feature and it fell through. And I knew like I now if I went to that I would have known. Back then I didn't know, but I knew the director, like the things he was saying with the budget that was not even there, it was like dreaming a lot. And whenever I would say like we don't have money for that, let's just try to keep it down. But like we had so many locations in the script, so many characters, like 50 characters. I was like, you have no budget. This is unrealistic. So
Wow.
I feel like that's the word I'm looking for. I go in and I look, is this project realistic? If it's not, I know it's gonna fall all on my shoulder and I don't want to deal with that. So I would rather pull out as early as possible.
Mm.
But if it's a realistic project and they have a little bit of a mess and they just want to bring me on and clear that, I think I'm fine with that.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
What
And
about,
now director
yeah,
side.
yeah,
Yeah.
about I'm sorry for interrupting your stream of thought before, but yeah,
No,
talk more
no,
about the
it's not.
director side.
Yeah, so I'm also excited about that. That's why I'm like jumping. So director side of things, I really do have a preference of like what's I'm gonna direct. So I like to direct dramas and short form, long form. Like hopefully in the future, I really want to make long form feature length dramas. Um, but as of now, I also like to direct music videos. And the type of music videos that I really like are the ones that have storylines. So a bunch of rappers like have asked me, like slash my friends, are like, oh, come direct a music video for me. And once I hear the storyline, I'm like, I'm so sorry I would do this for you, but I cannot. Like, this is not my vibe. And I feel like
Mm.
as a director, I'm much more aware of like, if it's not me, I don't want to put my name on it because
Right.
I'm really trying to curate my style. So instead of, I know a lot of people would argue like try to direct as much as possible and like take any opportunity, but at the end of the day, if it's not me, I don't want to have a plethora of like 20 music videos, 10 short films, and nobody knows who Ace is as a director. I want people to watch it and say, like, kind of like Wes Anderson is one of my favorites too. Like, I want people to watch like 5 minutes of it and say, okay, this is Ace. And I know it's going to take a long time to get to that point, but that's kind of what I'm working for. And that's why I don't really accept projects if I don't vibe with it. And I think for that reason, I started out writing my own stuff. But I realized that, like, okay, this is taking a very long time because at the same time, I have to master screenwriting, which I also didn't know before. So I was like in the middle of, okay, I'm a new director and a new screenwriter. So it's really not working for me. Maybe in the future, I might come back to screenwriting. But as of now, I found a writer who actually was just my friend, and we just started like bouncing ideas, and he writes a lot. So now we work together, and I feel like we have a very similar vision of the world. So that would be my tip if you're going to work with a writer. Before, like it doesn't matter how experienced, how successful they are. To me, it matters more like how much are we on the same page. Like he kind of understands what Ace would like, what Ace wouldn't like, which is important to me.
Yeah, I think for all of those things, for finding the right team, for finding the right project, a lot of it comes down to like alignment with yourself or your vision or who you are. And there's this idea that when I'm not making films, I do marketing, and with branding, you're basically branding yourself every time you choose a project. If you don't have a clear idea of what type of project you're going to be, you're almost typecasting yourself because someone else will make that opinion for you. Oh, she's the one who does all of the rap music videos, and they people have an idea of who you are based on your projects, whether you do it intentionally or not. So it's good to, if you take a moment maybe to choose that'll help people know what type of projects to ask you to be on too.
That's so true because like yes, you might get more jobs as you said, but even as like I feel like even YouTubers like talk about like branding and they're like I don't accept that because that's not with aligned with my niche. So I feel like as directors we should do same because at this point, I mean there's so many great directors, right? So what is gonna make you stand out? And if there's nothing to make you stand out, I don't think you should be directing because everyone like at a certain point like after you do it for a while I feel like everyone gets the same like technical skills if that makes sense. Like let's say person A and person B like they both direct for 10 years and they're both going to have like same similar level experience and similar level of technical skills, but what's gonna there's a lot like there's a whole alphabet of these same people, so there's only going to be like for example letter C that's going to succeed, and that's because they have their own style because there's so many directors, so that's kind of what I'm focusing on, like finding my style and branding myself.
Because that's, as you're saying, basically with branding, that's how you stand out. That's how you choose to
Hmm.
stand out by having a style.
Hmm.
Um, and other ways to stand out might be, like the generosity or helping out other people, being kind on set. There's ways to
For
help people know
sure.
who you are. Are there other
Hmm.
ways that you've done that, whether it's like networking in certain circles or just people are starting to know you from your work?
I think people are starting to know me definitely as an AD in the industry, which was also a scary point for me because I was like, oh, I don't want to be known as an AD. So that's why I started directing more now, but it is definitely hard because it takes time, even when you apply to grants. It takes time for those grants to get back to you. You have to usually finance project out of your pocket if you're just getting started like me. But I've been like slowly shifting, and I feel like when we were doing the crew like interviews too, I was very clear to my producer that I don't want to work with someone if they have 15 years of experience, but they are rude to other people. And they might be more knowledgeable than me, but like I don't want that kind of power dynamic on my sets because I've started as like a PA and I've also like AD'd. I've been stepped on a lot, even when I was first AD, third AD. I've been stepped on by people who are my superior, also because I feel like when I first started going on sets, I was like almost always the youngest on that
Mm.
set. So age wise and like experience wise, I've been stepped on, and it's not a good feeling, and it doesn't want to make you work harder for sure. So I think one thing I'm adopting as a director is I don't really see myself on top of people. I just really appreciate these people coming together to make something that I wanted to make with me, and we are doing this together. So I think that's an approach that I'm taking.
Yeah, I love that. And that ends up being almost a different type of style. That's a leadership style
Mhm.
that you're choosing to have
Yes,
and be known for.
for sure. Like I always say my crew over me because I've always been part of crew. So like going to set and like not having to unload because that's not my job. Like I still want to like help. And I still like, and I feel um like just always being kind is a personality trait that I really care about. So that I want to reflect that on to my job as well.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Because I forgot where I was going with that, but it's like when you have a boss versus a leader. I've seen a graphic on Instagram about it where the boss will be like, do this, do that, and the leader's like, come with me,
Hmm.
you know? Like,
Hmm.
and I think when you have that kind of dynamic, your team can go a lot farther and accomplish a lot more.
For sure, because when you're like something I've experienced as crew is so for example, they don't even they didn't even share the story with me. Like I was on camera team, which like of course like as camera team you don't really need to know the story, but I don't even know what I'm filming. Like, do you understand? Like I go there and I'm so unrelated to this project. I just want to complete my hours, get my paycheck and leave versus when people, you know, just send me the project or send me a little blurb and say, hey, I'm so happy that you're on this team, like we're gonna make this story together. It makes me feel like I'm part of something bigger, like we are making something, and if we go over time, I'm okay with that because I want to tell this story with this person. So I feel like that's why I got this approach, and the people you ended up working with end up working so much better because everyone gets an outlet to do their own art, right?
Mm.
Like the art department really gets their time to shine, because I'm not telling them like this is how, like I've been on a set where they were like yelling at the art director to, okay, just put up something on the wall because it looks empty. And I remember looking at that and saying, wow, I never want to have this on my sets. The wall looks empty, so put something quickly. And they're yelling in front of everyone. I was like, this is like, first of all, the art director, like, he should have had some time to plan like what he wants to put there, how he wants it to look. Um, and like before that, they should have planned the look of the scene because I feel like that's very cheap of like putting something in the last minute. And
Anything.
secondly, like, yeah, yelling to someone to do their job faster doesn't make them do it faster.
Yeah, I want to commend you for that's I think it's amazing that you've adopted this leadership style on your own sets, as well as like
Thank you.
that really forming community where everyone
Mm-hmm.
on our set almost has more of that freedom in the room to be artists together, and instead of just like the director is the only artist and everyone else is just like, you know, doing the little minions or something. But it's like, no, we're all artists. We're all working towards something, and we're making something beautiful. And I think that's beautiful. You're making community.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and other thing that I wanted to do was like working with people. Like, if you work with people you really like off the start and you have this like respectful relationship, I feel like it grows into something that like maybe 5 years down the line. I mean, I'm at the very start of my career right now, but hopefully in 5, 10 years, I'll have these people that I can say, yes, these are my people. I worked with them for 10 years, and by that time they're going to understand me even better, I'm going to understand them better, and the process of working together is going to be even more smooth.
Amazing, amazing. You mentioned, like 5 years down the line. What kind of goals are you going after? I know you want to direct more, but find projects that you love. Do you have like a 5 year, 10 year plan of something where you see yourself in the future?
I definitely want to win some awards, and I know it's specifically the names that I will not mention
Okay.
just in case it doesn't happen, but yeah, I definitely want to direct more, and I want to direct films that have meaning and that make people feel seen. I really like to focus on like social issue around world, like rape. That's gonna be one of my short stories. That is gonna be filmed soon. Um, like really social issues that affect people and that people can relate to and can feel seen. I really love to work with a lot of BIPOC people, both behind the scene and on scene, um, to give people representation. And really, like, I just want to be able to afford doing this full time. If I can become like a full time director and I just do this every day, that'll be the dream.
I love that. And everyone here in our community is rooting for you as you do that and as win those awards. We're here rooting you on.
Thank you. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, anything's possible, and especially I think your your gift makes a way for you, but you're also putting in the work, and you're doing it. So yeah,
Hmm.
you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, we're kind of rounding out on the hour here, and I have a couple more questions. But
For sure.
yeah, if you, what type of advice do you have for specifically women who are trying to break into the industry or they're just starting out in film?
Okay, so for this one, listen to me, girls. I feel like there are still guys out there, especially not the stereotype, but white men in their 60s, 70s who work as executive producers that unfortunately I had several instances that I've been told this is not an industry for women, that I should quit, that I shouldn't even try becoming director, that I should settle for less, um, which I think nobody should be told. But if you're ever told something like this, or maybe less, whatever, don't listen to them. Just keep following your path. Don't listen to them. Block out all the noises. I try to block out both positive and negative and just like go straight on the path. Just work every day and go day by day. Set your goals. Try to get yourself to set as much as possible. Network and do it in a very like kind way. And yeah, that should get you started. Honestly, it's not that hard. Nobody talks about this, but if you go to Facebook and you sign up for these groups and you just volunteer your time, you can get started. You don't need a degree. Don't let people tell you you need to go to film school, you need to do this, you don't have experience. Like, no, just be proud of where you are. If you're starting from square one and you're not going to film school, be proud of that and say that I don't go to film school. I'm starting out. I will volunteer my time, and people will get you to your to different sets. And if, as I mentioned, you're getting negative feedback, just block that out and don't talk to those people anymore, because there's also, as we said, so many good people that will just hold your hand and help you out.
Amazing. Ah, yes. Yes. We have a question here about what kind of groups, if there are specific groups, or if there are specific places people can look to find the right people.
For sure. So on Facebook, there is a group called I Need a Producer slash Fixer slash Crew. This is the most popular one for Canada. I can't speak for other than Canada as I'm not in other ones, but if you just Google, like, for example, if you live in Atlanta, if you Google on Facebook, Atlanta crew call, Atlanta, I need a crew, something like that. I bet you like there's gonna be something that pops up, and try to join as many as possible. And some of them are more scammy, some of them are legit. Like, I'm sure you'll be able to find which one is legit.
Amazing. And I love what you were saying earlier, Ace, about how social media, people's DMs, you can find like-minded people, and even
For
pick their
sure.
brains or ask them questions.
For sure. And even at the start, what you can do is you can even just if there's someone that you really look up to, for example, if you're in Canada and you look up to me for some reason, like, I will be very open to help you. You know what I mean? So never think of it like, oh, like I'm like they don't know me, it's gonna be weird, something like that. I have done this in the past before of like DPs that I really liked and that I really wanted to see. What I did was I just followed him and DM'd him and said, "Hey, like, I hope this is not weird. Like, we don't know each other, but my name is this. Like, introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? I'm trying to get into the film industry. I just started. I really like your work, and I would really, really love to come see it sometime. You don't have to pay me or anything." Like, put that for sure, like, so that people don't think you're just like asking for money for nothing. Just can I just come shadow you? And like 99% of the time it works. And I've gone to sets this way by just cold turkey reaching out. So I highly recommend.
Yeah, I love that. And if I can add one more bit to that, um, like you were saying, sometimes it's like, oh, like, why would I reach out? Or I'm just starting out, or like there's that kind of thoughts holding us back. We're all people. Everyone in the
Mhm.
industry are people. Like sometimes for anybody, it's easy to look at the people who are a little ahead of you in the journey and think like, oh, celebrities or like they're so far along, or I don't want to bug them, or they I could never be that or this. We're all people. We've all been there, especially when we're all on the same journey. So literally, we've been there, you know. And so don't be afraid either, because you you're worth like people sewing into you and your dreams.
Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? They're not going to see it, or they're going to see it and they're not going to reply, which, by the way, you cannot even be sure if they did that on purpose because sometimes I open DMs on accident when I'm opening something else and then I forget that I opened them. So there you go. You don't even know if they ignored you on purpose or not. And sometimes some people will open and reply like a month later, being like, "Hey, I remember you. Like, do you want to come to set?" So like, don't lose your hope. People really want to help, and just send it and then forget about it.
Yeah, I love it. It's a just do it mentality.
Yes,
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we're in our last couple minutes. Ace, do you have any closing thoughts? Kind of any you want to tell people what you're working on, what's next for you?
for sure. So right now I'm working on two short films, one which will be actually filming on July 16, and the other one is going to be around September. The other one is actually about a social issue like rape around the story that happened in my country in Turkey. So we're going to be opening a fundraising for that, which is going to be in my bio, the link once we launch it. So if you enjoyed this chat today and you decide to follow me, keep up and be in the lookout for that because that project is going to be amazing and it's going to be bigger. And hopefully, I'm going to be able to pay my crew. Like, that's all I want to do. And yeah, that's what's next. And where people can find me is you can follow me on Instagram. As I mentioned before, I always check my DMs, and if I don't do it today, I will do it later. And I will follow you back. I will keep in touch with you. And my website is directedbyace.com.
Amazing. Directed by ace.com. I hope you guys check that out. And if you're not already, please follow Ace and the work that she's doing. We think we love staying in touch with all of the people in our community and seeing the work that you're doing. But like, it's been so wonderful to have you here and to chat with you today.
Yeah, it's been so wonderful to like I was always watching these interviews from home and now like I'm in one of them. I'm like, wow, this is different. But and it's been nice to talk to you too.
Yeah. So we'll be in touch. Everybody be in touch, and yeah, follow the Women in Film Project. We have other conversations like this happening over the next few months, and we have some in the archive. So check them out, and we'll talk soon. All
Bye.
right. All right. Take care, Ace. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Again, bye.
Bye.